Okay, so impeachment part two. I figured I would weigh in on impeachment part two. We're basing impeachment part two on the idea that um, the current president of the United States inspired an insurrection. That's what the narrative is. Um, it's everywhere. It's on your local news. It's, of course, on CNN, which I don't watch, but on good authority, I've seen headlines and so forth that basically would validate that. And it's not surprising. Uh, we have a lot of issues as a country. And if the corpse is going to get off to a good start as the president of the United States, which I don't know if he will, I don't see how he can. But let's just say we're all the forgiving type and we're all the kumbaya. We're all going to sing from the same hymnal and so forth. And we're going to just kind of, wish him well. Typically, that's the new president, whether it was Obama, George W. Bush, all of these guys, off the starting block, you hope that they succeed. Even Trump was told by Obama that we hope you succeed. Oh, that's funny. Here's the thing. This is a dog and pony show. It is designed to demoralize all the people who supported Trump, or the people who support liberty, support freedom, support lower taxes, support, I don't know, the Second Amendment, all of those people who do not agree that the United States should be sold out to foreign countries. Those people. It's designed to demoralize all of them. All of the people who have been underserved across the country, whether you're in a rural community or an inner city. All right. If you're inside a city, I guarantee you, if it's a big city and it's been run by Democrats, liberal or neoliberal Democrats for the past, I don't know, 80 years, we'll just throw that number out there. Maybe it's only 60. The majority of the time, your city has had a mayor who has a D in front of their name. Okay. It's designed so those people will continue to just vote against their own economic interests over and over again. Not just economic interests, but like the Bill of Rights for the most part. Okay. Now, again, I have made peace with the election. I am not going to talk about election frog anymore. That's what I'm going to call it, election frog. All right, just in case the people over at YouTube didn't hear me, it's electric frog. I am not going to talk about electric frog anymore. Sounds like a song by Donovan from like the 60s, man. If you don't know who Donovan is, then just we'll pass. Be like whatever, the $10,000 pyramid pass. Okay, I don't know Donovan. Sorry. Well, we're supposed to be of good cheer, even in circumstances that don't appear all that cheerful. And I'm done. I'm done because I know I can't make an impact. If you believe that there was no electric frog, the electric frog does not exist. It's the new Russiagate. We'll use the talking point from Crystal Ball from the Hill. It's our new Russiagate. Why should we have clean elections when we can just not and just watch whoever has the most power, influence, whose algorithm is working the best? That's what this is about. Or who's paid off the person running the algorithm? Because that's all you need to do. And by the way, this goes back to when they pulled Tulsi Gabbard's AdSense account. At the very moment she could have used that to help her own campaign after she was The most searched candidate, the most talked about candidate after whatever Democratic presidential debate, all of them were saying the same thing. Tulsi was saying something different, and thus that is why she became popular. Trump did that in 2016. Everybody was saying the same thing, and he said something different. All right, so let's get to the impeachment debacle. Impeachment part 2. Oh, he'll be the only president in our history that's been impeached twice. I don't know if that's true, but it could be. It probably will be true. It probably will be true. And yes, he will be impeached because they have the votes. He won't be convicted, though, and that's really all that matters. So this is a dog and pony show, which again takes away from the notion of unity. Because remember, I'm hearing all this unity. Wouldn't it be great if we had unity? I want to unify the country. So if you want to unify the country, you don't go through another make-believe impeachment thing, all right, in order to score political points with your own little constituency, who, by the way, a lot of progressives and a lot of Democrats who didn't vote for Trump would like to see us kind of moving on. All right, now, why is Trump being impeached again? Well, supposedly he instigated an insurrection, a word that is now being used much like all these other overused terms like fascist. Okay, we've got an insurrection. We had fascism at every turn. We had Nazism at every turn. All of these different terms that, are supposed to be used really sparingly because it's very unusual that you get to that extreme. Same goes for insurrection. You had one guy leading this, and that's all I'm going to say. He's not a MAGA guy. And if you want to find out more, you can find out more. He was in jail for 2 days, and then they let him out. All right. And he is not part of MAGA. That's all I'm going to say. If you hear differently, if you hear it was these guys, look, I'm not saying the MAGA guys didn't go in. They did. Some of them, not all of them, obviously. There was like 1 million people there, and like a couple of hundred went in. All right. And the people who let them in should be more responsible than the fact that they got in. But then the people who were like breaking windows and doing certain things, for the most part, those were not MAGA people. All right. And if you listen to the president's speech prior, he's just trying to get to the bottom. He still can't believe that nobody wants to hear about Electric Frog. He doesn't want to. I mean, he's just shocked. Hey, man, did you hear this new band, Electric Frog? They're amazing. See, I just can't let it go. No, but seriously, he's laying out all these statistics, state by state. They've got videos. They've got signed affidavits. They got whatever, right? Whatever, nothing to see here. It's just Russiagate Part 2. So let's just move on. See, I'm going to have a real problem moving forward because everybody's going to say, okay, here's the new political solution. Here it comes. 4 years of, we've got to fix this, and Trump people are extreme and the other people are extreme. And yes, we need to come together. There needs to be some kind of unity, and we'd be stronger if we were unified on a few points. But we're basically told to be tribal all the time. I just watched this amazing movie on Netflix, by the way. I would highly recommend it. It's a documentary. It's called The Social Dilemma. After you watch this, you'll want to keep your kids away from any screens. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but I'm telling you, this is what you're going to want to do. And you're going to realize that these algorithms are far more advanced. It's AI with a personality, more or less, is what it is. And then it learns your own personality, and then it really just manipulates everything you see, and then it manipulates a lot of things that you'll do based on what you're seeing. So with that said, even before we get to the voting booth, people have already been influenced in a way that is incredibly toxic, and it creates tribalism. This is why you see people on Twitter who will just like hammer you for making kind of a Guy Smiley sort of common sense statement about something. Okay, shut up, boomer. You know, it's like, first of all, I'm not a boomer officially. Secondly, it's uncalled for. I mean, we used to have civil discourse. If you don't think I'm creative enough because I don't, use slash and burn technology or terminology, then I don't know, go somewhere else and talk to someone else who's in your league. But a guy like me who's just, making these kind of common sense statements over there, you can't make them. You can't make them because it's not cool enough. You've got to be more cutting edge and so forth. So anyway, even before you get to the electric frog, all right, you've already been, the Tulsi Gabbard thing proves that. She's, and by the way, I don't buy the 3.2% of the vote in New Hampshire. That I'm just throwing it out there again. I mean, I'm not saying there was any electric frog in the primary, but there probably was some electric frog in the primary. And what I would again like to talk about is how we get past this and we move on. But if this whole week is going to be focused on impeaching the president again, when he's just got a few days left, and look, folks, he's not planning martial law. He's not doing the Q insurrection. He's not going to call the military in to lock the country down because, there was electric frog and foreign influence, which, we know which country was primarily responsible for paying for financing these people to go in and commit electric frog. Okay. Now, if you don't believe that, that's because you haven't seen it, because nobody's really pursuing it unless you're kind of looking at alt-right media, which I consume a lot of different media. And I'm not going to lie, I've seen a ton of really disturbing things. So at some point, you move on because you have to, because it's kind of like the globe is spinning. There's not enough time to stop the earth, all right, and melt with you. No, I'm sorry. Stop the globe and try to figure out what just happened. Each week, something monumental seems to be happening, and you don't have enough time. There's too much. There's too much going on, and this is all by design. Again, The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix. I hate Netflix, but go, and if you have it, watch it, because it will be a fascinating movie, especially with the backdrop. Now, they don't talk a lot about banning, shadow banning, that sort of thing. They do talk about algorithms and creating things that will get you addicted and hooked into everything. One thing that they didn't do is talk about omitting things. If they want to be influencers, this is how they do it. So I think all of those things were key in not just this election, but the primary, especially on the Democrat side in the last election. So I think this is complete lunacy to do this again to Trump. And it's not because, I'm in love with Trump or anything like that. I'm over it. I get it. I mean, a lot of people just think he's radioactive. Most of his supporters don't. Just letting you know, the supporters aren't going away. And those supporters would do themselves a big favor if they tried to make connections with left populists who I think like the idea of America being first, but they have kind of a different view on how that works. And I think if you had that coalition, it would be really strong, and it could really take on the status quo. But again, before I leave this video, if there is continuous electric fog and it exists and nobody does anything about it, then these outcomes in the future are all in jeopardy. And it just doesn't matter what we do. And there are going to be some people who will completely throw in the towel and say, I'm just going to live my life. Hope I don't get stopped for speeding, obey the law, take care of my family, that sort of thing. I don't want to discuss politics at work because I might lose my job, or, those sorts of things. A lot of people are going to be doing that because they really have been browbeaten into submission. And this is a really dark time for critical thinking. There is no critical thinking anymore in this country. It's very limited. And you'll say, well, those on the fringe tend to be more critical thinkers. It's true. There are some decent people who are trying to make space somewhere in the middle. The problem is they get shouted down because they're the diplomatic type. They're not the shouting type. So diplomacy, although it sounds good on paper, hasn't been very effective when it comes to dealing with political squabbles. Anyway, my name is Dave. This is my channel. Thanks for tuning in. I am a political refugee. If you can support the channel by watching it, subscribing to it, watching the advertisements, I get complaints about that. I mean, that's kind of all I can ask you to do. If you can watch through the ads. And then I do have a Patreon that is affiliated with this account. So $1 a month, if you can afford to do that, that's helpful. Keeps this thing going. So again, I'll be back. I want to comment more about the stuff after it happens. Like I said, I think Trump will be impeached a second time, but he will be not convicted a second time. So that's DOA. So it really, this is for Nancy Pelosi. She's gotten to the point where she's become incredibly vindictive, and she wants to make sure that Trump can't function in the future. But unless they convict him, Trump will definitely be functioning, and he may come back to bite everybody. So just be aware of that.